What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Petya and I'm a software engineer. I've graduated from university this summer and I started my job here at Bloomberg in October 2020. When I was a student, I did a 12-month internship at JP Morgan and then I did a summer internship at Amazon. I was also going to do a summer internship in the summer of 2020 at BuzzFeed, but that got cancelled because of COVID. I also had another offer for a 12-month internship at the Hood Group. The reason why I'm telling you all of this is that in this video I'm going to talk about my worst failures when it comes to job interviews. I thought it's important for you to have a little bit of background if you're new. I wanted to share with you my worst failures when I was interviewing with different companies for two reasons. So first of all, up until now I feel like I've talked a lot about my current job, my internships. I've also made an entire video on advice how to be successful at job interviews, how to get internships, but I feel like I haven't really talked that much about all of my failures, and actually I've had a lot more failed interviews than I've had successful ones. I wanted to show both sides of the story. I think it's important to show the struggle that happens behind the scenes before every success. And the second reason is I hope this video is gonna encourage people who might be applying for jobs right now and might be going through difficult times, might be getting a lot of rejections. Generally speaking, there's a lot of luck involved in job interviews, and also you become better at interviewing for jobs as you do it more. You shouldn't feel bad about rejections or interview fails because they're really part of your journey, and as long as you learn from them and improve, they do make you a better engineer, and failures in general are an unavoidable part of life. So I hope you find this video reassuring that even if you get rejections now, you will get a yes at some point and everything is gonna be fine. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. I'm gonna do this chronologically and I'm gonna start with my Facebook interview, and this is probably the worst one of them all. In the beginning of my second year at university, I was applying for placements because the degree that I was doing was called a sandwich degree, which meant I do a full year placement between my second and third year. So in the beginning of my second year was the time when I was applying for those placements. Placement is basically a long internship. So at that time I had just completed first year. We had done computer science basics. We hadn't done any kind of algorithms like searching, sorting, traversing graphs, stuff like that. All of that was being taught in the second semester of second year, and we hadn't done any data structures. I think the only ones that we had done were like arrays in Java. We hadn't done trees, graphs, linked lists, whatever else is there, like heaps, stacks, all of that. I had no knowledge of those things. I said that in previous videos. I didn't have any programming experience whatsoever before I started uni. So at that point, when I was applying for my placements, I had only one academic year of experience, and it was learning basic stuff. So I started applying, and I applied to all the big companies because why not? And I hear back from Facebook. Initially they sent me an email with some questions. It was kind of like initial screening. The questions were just about languages that I've done, experience that I have, stuff like that. Two of the questions were quite weird. They asked me how many lines of code I write per day or week, I can't remember, and how many hours of coding I do per day. So I sent back an email with all of my answers, and I heard back from them and they invited me for an interview. So far so good. The interview was going to be online, and it was going to be right after my reading week. And if you don't know what reading week is, in the UK most degrees I think get this week without teaching, without lectures, exercises, labs, anything like that in the middle of the first semester, and the point is for you to catch up on everything that has been taught in the first half of the semester. That's why it's called reading week. So I had nothing scheduled at uni for an entire week plus the weekends before and after that week. So I had about 10 days to prepare for my Facebook interview, and that was right after reading week. It was on the Monday after. I spent 10 days going through cracking the coding interview. I managed to go through all of its 700 pages. I crammed as many coding challenges as I could, but at that point I still haven't been taught any kind of algorithms or data structures at uni. So I crammed this massive amount of information for such a short amount of time, but it was still not enough. Like, you can't learn so many complex topics in 10 days if you haven't met them before. But I did my best with the time that I had and the situation that I was in. Of course, when you cram that much new information in such a short amount of time, you don't really retain most of it, and at some point it all becomes jumbled in your head. So that did happen. On the day of my interview, I was not feeling prepared at all. My interviewer was based in California, and my interview was, I think, 6 or 7 in the evening. So I had the whole day before that to psych myself out. My interview starts And let me just say, the interviewer was very nice, and that goes for all of the interviews that I'm gonna talk about. Like, none of these companies or interviewers did anything wrong. They were perfectly nice to me. So just a quick disclaimer. So my interview starts, and we start with like basic introductions, small chat just to break the ice, and then the interviewer gives me my question. I don't remember most of the things that I've been asked at interviews, but this one I don't think I'll ever forget. And the problem was to find the least common ancestor of two nodes in a binary tree. So they give you two nodes and you need to return the least common ancestor of those two nodes. Generally, it's not a very difficult question, but for me at the time, I had literally kind of learned what a tree is, what a graph is. So they give me this question and I panic like 100%. Luckily for me, I managed to stay calm, but on the inside I was running around in circles screaming. I had absolutely no idea what to do with this problem. So I started asking questions. If you don't understand the problem, ask questions. Maybe the interviewer is gonna tell you just what you need to know in order for everything to click. That didn't happen. Because I was so panicked, it didn't matter what the interviewer was saying. I was not processing anything that she was telling me. Like, none of the information was getting through my head. The only thing that I was in my head was like, oh my god, what am I doing? Oh my god, I can't do this, I can't do this. Oh my god, she knows I can't do this. She kept talking to me, and I was like, yeah. I had this blank stare, and she started giving me hints, hint after hint. If you're stuck at an interview, they're gonna, like, the interviewers would try and help you. They would give you a hint, and if you can take the hint and work from there and you solve it, it's fine. That doesn't mean you won't get the job, as long as you can use the information they give you. But that didn't happen for me. She kept drawing diagrams, she kept giving me hint after hint, to the point where she actually wrote out the entire algorithm, and I was just looking at the camera, not knowing what to say, because none of it made sense. Like, she was speaking in another language. I couldn't really do anything. At that point, both of us knew that this interview was a complete failure, but at the same time, I couldn't be like, you know what, I screwed this up, so yeah, bye. Like, I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to throw a tantrum or anything like that. So I kept trying. I genuinely kept trying, but my brain was like completely out of it. So that went on for what felt like forever. And finally we got to the end of the interview. We said our goodbyes. The second I ended that call, I just burst into tears. I was absolutely mortified. I was so embarrassed. At the end of the day, I literally did absolutely nothing at that interview. I did zero. I was very angry for being so stupid. I was like, why am I even doing this? I'm too stupid for software engineering. I'm too stupid for these companies. What was I thinking even applying for a company like Facebook? I just felt like an absolute idiot. Probably I spent the entire week after that crying, just thinking about this interview. I was very traumatized by it. The moral of the story is, don't panic. The interviewers will try to help you, and if you don't panic, you'll be able to use your brain to actually use the new information that they give you, and you might be able to get out of the situation and solve the problem that's actually happened to me later on in life. But if you panic, your brain just stops working, and then it doesn't matter what they tell you. So that was definitely the worst one for me. It was the most embarrassing one. I basically wanted the earth to open up and swallow me whole after that. So moving on, after that interview, I think in a few weeks, I had a call with Google. I had applied for a summer internship at Google because they didn't have long placements, and then I got invited for online interviews. I got 2 online interviews, and they were one after the other. One of them was with a software engineer in London, and then the other one was, I think, with a software engineer in Zurich in Switzerland. I don't really remember the exact questions they asked me because this one wasn't as traumatizing. The first interview was with the engineer from London. It was a graph problem, something similar to Dijkstra algorithm, which I didn't know at the time because I had no idea what graphs are or what Dijkstra's algorithm is. It was like, find the shortest path with the maximum kind of like return value or something. I don't know. When he gave me the question, I knew I couldn't solve it. I was like, I'm screwed, but I didn't panic for this one. I started writing out some code. I kept talking to the interviewer. I kept reasoning about it. I started doing hash maps left and right because when in doubt, do a hash map. I didn't solve the problem. I was kind of hoping that maybe I did enough for the interviewer to give me a pass or whatever. Obviously not. But he was nice. It was easy to talk to him. And then the second interview was a lot worse. It was focused on big O notation and like complexity of some algorithm. He gave me some kind of arithmetic expression which I had to write out in a function or something like that, which I did. At least I think I did. I actually don't know if it was correct. And then I had to write out the complexity of the algorithm that I had just written out. At that point, I knew what big O is, and I understood simple examples of complexity and big O notation. But for something a bit more complex, I had no idea. I started talking complete rubbish, and I think the guy was really not impressed with me because the vibe was just very off. It was very uncomfortable. I felt quite embarrassed because I think I looked like a complete idiot again. It was not a good vibe at that interview. Just kept talking stuff, and I don't know if any of it was correct or not. He never actually told me. He kind of just let me talk complete crap the whole time, and I kept rambling about this and that, going off on tangents, just trying to fill the time with something, and I think I ended up saying complete nonsense and again a rejection. I'm gonna talk about another failure that I had with Google, and that was last year when I was applying for a full-time job. I got invited to a phone interview. I actually have no idea what question they asked me. I can't remember, but I remember I passed it somehow. That was the first interview I passed with Google, because I've applied for Google 2 other times when I just didn't even get to an interview. I just got rejected straight away. I was in my final year at uni. I had already done the Amazon internship, my JP Morgan internship, and I had applied to a million companies at that point, so I had a lot more experience with data structures, algorithms, all of that, so it wasn't as bad. So the phone interview went well. I got invited to on-site interviews, which were in Munich, because I was applying for the Munich office. At that point, I had spent a couple of months doing lead code problems every single day. I was really grinding coding challenges, so I wasn't as unprepared at all. But still, it's Google. Like, you know, the questions would probably be hard, and like every interview, there's so much luck that even if you're perfectly prepared, you might still fail. You never know. So they fly me out to Munich the day before my interviews. The next day after I flying, I go to the office, and I had 5 interviews in the same day. Yeah, 5. 4 of them were technical. 1 of them was like an HR kind of interview where they just want to see if you're a good fit for the culture of the company. The first interview I did well, which again, unbelievable. I solved the entire problem. They even gave me like some follow-up questions. I did that as well. The second interview, oh my god. The problem was something to do with Duolingo, like not the real Duolingo. They drew some analogy to Duolingo, and I just could not understand the problem. I literally spent 30 minutes of my 40-minute interview trying to figure out what they're asking me. I just couldn't understand what they want from me. I kept asking questions. I still couldn't understand. At the end, the guy really dumbed it down for me. Like, he was like, okay, you need to do this and this and that. And I was like, great. It wasn't straightforward. It was all given to me as some kind of like a story, if that makes sense. A big part of that interview was me understanding what I need to do, and I didn't. I knew that this interview did not go well. I started coding. Of course, I didn't even have time to finish the problem because I had spent most of my interview trying to figure out what I have to do. Then there was my HR interview, which went really well. Later on, they told me that they do think I would be a good fit for the company. And then I had my third coding interview. He gave me the problem, again disguised in this elaborate story, and I couldn't really understand it very well. And also, he told me I was the first person that he has given this question, and he was like giving me examples in the beginning with like input output. He got a bit confused, which confused me because he was like kind of unsure what examples to give me that would work. He started giving me some examples, then it turned out that those numbers didn't work, so he had to figure out numbers that did work. I did get confused when he got confused. I think half of my interview was like us trying to figure out what we're doing or what I have to do, and again, I didn't have time to finish that interview, so that didn't go that well. And then the fourth one, the final one, I actually have no idea what they asked me in the final one. I solved the problem, so I did well in the last one as well. So all in all, I had 2 successful ones, I'd say. The HR was successful, and then I had 2 technical, which were not very good, so I kind of knew that it's going to be a rejection. I just had a tiny bit of hope that I would get it, but then I didn't. I remember I was at uni when I got the email from them. I was in a group meeting with my best friends from uni. We were doing a group project, so I read the email, which is like a rejection, and I was like trying to keep my cool because they were like talking about the project that we were doing. So I read the email, and I'm just kind of like trying to sit there with a straight face. Obviously didn't do a very good job because my friend immediately spotted that something was wrong, and she was like, what is wrong? What's going on? And I just burst into tears, like very dramatically in the middle of university. Great experience. That was the last one. That was like pretty bad. I've had a lot of rejections from companies where I didn't even get to interviews. Overall, I've had many more failed applications than I've had successful ones. As I said, it's just part of your journey. It's unavoidable. After every failure, just learn your lessons, figure out what you did wrong, and just get back on the horse and move on. I hope if you're currently applying and you're getting rejected, this video helps you see that eventually you will get a positive answer from a company and it's gonna be okay. It's just something that you have to go through, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad engineer, that you're stupid, or that you'll never get a job or you're a failure. Like, don't ever think that. It's just how life works, and as you can see, things work out at the end as long as you keep working. Let me know in the comments if you wanna share some failures that you've experienced when it comes to interviewing, and also let me know what other videos you would like to see from my channel. I'd love to hear from you. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. It really helps my channel to be discovered by more people. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys!
Yeah, baby, can you stop hesitating? No more